this is a representation of how heat accumulated in most of the last 8 or 10 vintages. And there are two summaries there of what the average is for 30-year periods, say 1960 through 1990, 1970 through 2000. And one of the things that we've noted, you can see a fair amount of variation there. Look at the blue color that's there. That profile ends up ending up almost at 2,500 degree days. Degree days is a way that we calculate how much heat has come, kind of collect it over the year, let it build up, and then where we end up is what the grape plants have seen. So 2006, the blue one, was pretty doggone high. We were 2,400, and I don't have the details. Do you have that, Lynn?
Oh, sorry, Harry. I didn't bring it with me.
Oh, I'm sorry. Around 2,500 degree days. 2007 was one of the cooler vintages that we've seen. Very bright acidity you saw in some of the 2007s that you tried last night. It's going to be a great vintage. I think the whites are one of the best white vintages around, and reds still in cellar I think are going to be equivalent, if not superior, to even years like 2006 where we're fully ripe. But 2006 and 2007, as disparate vintages as you can get, both of them equivalent in quality, but at the same time, you know you have to deal with them differently in the winery once you see differences like this in graft. One of the other things to point out is that even though 2007 was considerably cooler, next slide please, as it fits in with the averages over the long term, it's not exactly exceptional. What we've got here is a bar graph, and each one of these are the degree days, the same sort of ending thing that we saw on the previous graph. And you look at 1997 all the way through 2007. The white line across there is the average. That's the average from 1961 to 1990. And what we say there is that even though 2007 was cool, it was still well above the average for 60 through 90. It was not exactly cold.
Do you guys wonder what Harry does late at night?
No.
Yeah, that's some pressure. I didn't know anybody else knew that. What are we talking about anyway? My friend. 2,084 degree days for 2007 compared to the average of 1,970 degree days for a 30-year period. The thing, especially if you're a statistician, how many statisticians in the group out here?
None.
One of the things that you might surmise is that the likelihood of having something above average or below average is 1 in 2. So 50% chance.
I thought Garrison Keeler said we're all above average.
Yeah. It's good looks.
This is fun. I shake him up and he has to get back on track.
Yeah. Well, I started thinking about Garrison Keeler. It just makes me tremble. The likelihood of having, by chance, a vintage that is warmer than the average is 50%. And then if you say, okay, how about 2 years in a row? So it's 50% times 50%.
25.
0.25. Just kind of extrapolate this out over 11 vintages here. The chance of us having 11 vintages in a row that were at average or above is 0.01%. So anybody who tries to convince you that global climate change is not real, send them to me and I'll throw them some statistics, and once they're bored silly, then they'll agree. Next slide. Future. The future, we won't get into any detail here, but suffice it to say that in Pinot Noir growing regions, there is a window of about 2 degrees Celsius in which we can grow Pinot Noir to its full elegance. What happens if we have climate change that kind of bumps us up? And we're anticipating a change. We were listening to Dr. Greg Jones from Southern Oregon, who's one of the authorities on climate change, talked earlier this week. And it looks like we're anywhere from 1.7 to 2.5 degrees Celsius predicted for Pinot Noir growing regions as an increase over the next 20 to 30 years. So what it means is that adaptation, if we've adapted in the past and are benefiting right now from some great vintages, it's not going to stop by us just wishing it stopped. What we're going to have to do is adapt, move higher in elevation, move to new places to grow, or grow Syrah where Pinot Noir was. You know, all kinds of interesting things. But Pinot Noir is a reality here in Oregon. That's not going to change. It's just the character of how we do things. Again, adaptation.
It's like, I always like following Harry after he's given you all the weather data and talked about.
You can wake them up, can't you?
Oh yeah, global climate change here, and then this next slide says cool climate characteristics. So, truly though, even though we talk about that there is some type of global climate change, we're still a very cool region. And again, as I want to say, it's pretty cool out there right now. We're estimating we're probably 10 to 14 days behind. We hope we catch up. So we're still playing that game. Greg Jones, the climatologist that Harry was speaking of, was actually talking about there is some weather, that his weather data from the forecasting has actually indicated that this year might be a cool year. So it's important, as Harry has said, we do see this trending over a 30-year period of time, but that doesn't mean there's these anomalies like 2003 being extremely warm and possibly 2008 could be extremely cool. And that's what's kind of fun about Oregon, is you constantly are being challenged. It never gets dull around here. So what's the benefits of being in a cool climate such as Oregon? Well, we have very slow, long ripening periods, and so we have time for that fruit to mature and evolve and gather fruit flavors without gathering a lot of sugar. And that's what's really exciting, is that we can get that mature flavor without super high alcohols. It provides a nice balance to our wines. And so you're here because we're here, and we're here because we're here to find the holy grail of Pinot. And I think that's what's really fun about being here, is that we're all searching for that perfect, that Pinot that moves you. It's a cool climate. It not only produces great strawberries, as you guys probably got to taste this morning, and great Pinot Noir, but it also produces some great white wines. And you'll be exploring some of those in the cool white summer. Hey.